Okay, so I'm going to talk about JJ. The full name is Jujutsu, but as I hear from Cart, they only picked that name because they chose JJ first and needed to find a word that JJ would work as an abbreviation for. So I'm going to keep calling it JJ because that's the more accurate name. You can install it if you want. You can try some of the commands that I'm going to walk through. This is also a very unprepared presentation. I remembered that I was giving it like 10 minutes ago, or 15 by now. So I've been using JJ instead of Git for the last few months, so hopefully I can just go through my workflow and that'll be enough information. But if you get confused, stop me and ask questions. Okay, so what is JJ? It's a version control tool. It's kind of like Git, except they didn't want to re-implement all of Git, so they just built it on top of Git. You can use JJ to work with your repository, but it stores all of the objects as just a Git repository, which sounds kind of weird and counterintuitive because how can it be any better than Git if it's just using Git? But it is actually pretty good, and the convenient consequence of this is that you can work with people who use Git, and you can use JJ, and they have no idea that you're even using JJ. Which means you don't have to force everyone on your team to use your new tool. You can just start using it and have a better life and let them suffer in silence. So so right now I have a directory with nothing in it. If I want to create a Git repository, actually before I start this I should say, JJ is still under very active development. So there's not a 1.0 release yet, it's still 0 point something. I updated it last week and got the last 6 minor versions, and so like half of my workflow was deprecated. But yeah, so if you have an outdated version of JJ, I'm using 0.38, which is the latest version. If the commands I show you don't work, it's might be because you have an older version. So we can run JJ git init to create a Git repository. Normally you just run git init, you just add JJ in front. The reason it's JJ git is because later on they plan to add their own native storage backend that doesn't have to use a Git repository behind the scenes. So to make that clear, they're saying this is JJ and we're using the Git backend and initializing this repository. And if we do that, you'll get this. Obviously, Git does not understand what JJ is, so that's why there's this hint that running git clean -x will remove .jj, so just don't do that.
What if you do that?
Then it will remove .jj.
Like,
It says right there.
Like, will .jj be tracked normally? Like,
What? No.
You said to be careful not to do that?
Yeah. But like, you shouldn't run that anyways. You should be running git -f. Any command that has a -f, you probably shouldn't run, because it almost always means force. So you should run git clean -xdi, and it'll say, hey, do you want to remove this? And then you say, ask me for each one, and you say no. That's what you should do.
Okay.
Or you run with xdn, and it just tells you what it would remove, and then you change it to an f. Okay. Anyways. We now have .git and .jj, and a lot of the JJ commands are similar to Git. So we can run JJ status, and we'll see working copy and parent commit. By default, in Git, you have your own root commit. In JJ, every repository has a common root commit, or a root change. So there's 2 IDs here. The one on the left is a change ID. The one on the right is a commit hash, or the abbreviated commit hash. You'll notice that they use different letters. The commit hash is hexadecimal, so it's 0 through 9, A through F. The change ID uses all of the other letters so that it's never ambiguous whether something is a change ID or a commit hash. It's one or the other. So what is a change? In JJ, or in Git, you have immutable commits. You make a commit, it never changes. If you need to make a change to that commit, you essentially just replace it with a new commit that is slightly different. In JJ, you have changes which can change, hence the name. And so, a change has a fixed ID. In this case, you'll see the unique prefix is highlighted, which is quite nice. So instead of having to refer to it with like the first 4 or 7 characters, whatever you would do for a Git commit, you can just see M there, And so if I want to show, I can just say show M. If there are 2 changes with M as the first character, then it'll highlight the first 2. So you always know exactly what you need to type. And it's also the minimum you need to type, which is nice. It has a lot of convenient features like that. So, okay, we have our change. We can also JJ log if you want to see the log. It looks slightly different from Git, but same principle. It's a log. You'll see here, say it still we have a change ID on the left, commit ID on the right. Commit hash on the right. So I'm going to just create a file here. And if I run JJ again, we'll do JJ status. You'll see I now have working copy changes. File has been created. That's what the A is for. That's also what the green is for. And we'll now see we have the same change ID. It's still MPZ TOWUZ, same as up here. But the commit hash has changed. This is FBD. This is 97E. So what JJ does is your changes can change, but because Git commits are still immutable, your change is kind of like a branch would be in Git, but not really. So your change has an underlying commit, and that commit can change. So whenever you do something like modify a file or add a file like I've done, it automatically goes into the current change. There's no staging area like there is in Git. So that sounds like it might be a bad thing, depending on your workflow. We'll see that it actually doesn't matter. And if you want to stage stuff, you can use that workflow. And if you don't want to stage stuff, you don't have to use that workflow, which is quite nice. So yeah, your changes are going to update automatically. You're also, because there's no staging area, you never have to run git add or anything. Normally, Git would update the index when you run git add. Because JJ doesn't have an index, it automatically updates every time you run a JJ command, which can be kind of counterintuitive, but also in practice I find doesn't really matter that much. So if I add a new line to this file, if I just run JJ status again, the commit hash has changed again. Right? I didn't have to add this file, I didn't have to say JJ track this. It's just going to automatically update. So yeah, we can then make a new change with JJ new. So if I do that and then log, you'll see we now have the root change here, which is like a null. It's just a sentinel. You can't actually like modify the root change. You can't add files to it, anything like that. Here we have the first change I made, which is M, and now we have a second change, which is L. We can give these a message with desc or describe, the full form. And so I can specify a message with -M, or I can leave it blank and it'll open an editor just like Git would. You can also give it the change ID to describe. So if I want to change the middle or the first change there, I can say JJ describe M. I can add a message. And M now has a message. Now, you might notice after I ran JJ describe M, it said rebased 1 descendant commit. I did not run a rebase command, so why did it do that? The answer is JJ lets you change things. Just like Git is immutable, JJ is pretty much always mutable. And so if you change a previous commit, it's automatically going to rebase all of the commits after that. And it'll just work, sort of. You can change part of the past history, and it will just let you do that. It will change everything after that so that it's all intact, which is, sounds weird, ends up being quite convenient. So anyways, I'm going to give this an actual, let's just say, first change. I'll call this one second change. So my log now looks like this. Second change is empty. If I, let's say, remove this file, or let's not remove it yet. Let's just add a second file. And then I JJ log. It's no longer empty because that change automatically updates with the file contents. So far, it doesn't really seem all that different from Git, except for the fact that we don't have an index, we don't have to stage stuff manually. So let's do some stuff that you can't easily do with Git. Let's say, oh, actually, I need to make a change in between these two. how would you do that if these were Git commits? Go for it, Eric.
Check out. Or make like a new branch off of the middle commit.
Okay, so remember how I said that JJ just makes Git commits under the hood? I can actually just run Git commands here as well. So the checked out commit in Git is not always going to sync with the JJ change. So I can just make a new one on top of the second change. And now we have both of these here. Okay. So now that I have these here, I can run the Git commands and we can do what Eric said. So if I want to make a commit in between these two, let's do that. I'm going to git branch, let's call it just BR, why not? So I now have a branch here, and then I can git switch. I think it's already maybe checked out, but we'll git switch to our branch, and then what do I do?
Make a new commit and then rebase your first, second commit on top.
Sure.
Or
so
cherry pick it.
Let's make a file called between. This is our changes that need to go in between the other two commits. I can now make typos. I can make our commit that goes in between. What? Okay, I now have first change and between, and then I can git log dash. Oh, maybe I can't git log dash a, because it's not actually on a branch. Oh well. Git ref log. It's probably this one. Nope, that's second change. What was it? 7? I don't know. Let's use JJ. Second change here. We have the commit hash, so I can just grab that. Okay, now we have second change, first change. So I can git rebase.
Sorry, git cherry pick.
Sure, that's even better. Git cherry pick works if you have just one commit. If we had more, we would have to do a rebase. But we can git cherry pick this. Yeah, that'll work because we're still checked out on BR, which is what this in my prompt means. So let's git cherry pick that. There we go. We ran 5 commands, and we added 1 change in between. And this is something you might reasonably want to do fairly often. If you make one change, you make another change, then go, oh wait, I kind of want to fix this actually before I add this new feature, so I want to stick a new commit in between. That's reasonable. I think I did that 5 times earlier today. So let's now do the same thing with JJ. I'm going to just close your eyes and don't worry about what I'm doing here. Let's go, yeah. I'll cover what this is doing, but somehow I've gone back in time to before I just did all those git commands, which is a really nice feature of JJ. You can just go back in time at any point, no matter what you've done, it will just work. So we'll see that in a bit.
Is not basically the same thing you were doing with
No. It's close, but you can JJ undo anything, even a git fetch.
Oh,
You just undo
interesting.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. You can JJ if you made changes to a file and implicitly staged it, JJ undo undoes that. If you make a new commit, JJ undo undoes that commit. If you check out a new commit, JJ undo checks out whatever you had checked out before. So it just undoes whatever. It keeps track of everything in the history.
Is this version control for your version control?
You could think of it like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like,
The 2 category version.
so it's like you change the files and then you make that into a commit. And then you change your commits and you make that into a branch. This is what if we put another layer on top of that, kind of. Each JJ change is kind of like a branch. And then you can combine those. It's not quite the same. I'm doing a bad job explaining what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's kind of like another layer on top of the existing primitives that we have. Anyways, back to what we were doing. So let's JJ new -- before L. There we go. New change in between. 1 command instead of the 5 or whatever that we had to run for Git. And of course, if we want to thanks. If we want to, make the change to the file that we put in that commit, there we go. That's all we need to do, because JJ will automatically track it the next time I run a JJ command. So I don't even have to run a command here. But if I run log, now you'll see it doesn't say empty. Up here it says empty, here it just says no description set. We can set a description. But yeah, so much easier to make changes. Now, I'm going to log with -p, which this is also an option for git log. It just prints a diff along with each commit. So let's say I want to take this line here, new line, and I want to move it into this second change up here. How would I do that in Git? Give up.
No.
Yeah, I actually don't. I don't know the best way to do it. I would probably just do it manually, like remove that line from that commit, and then rebase the other two commits, and then make a new commit and add that line, and then squash that down, or git commit -- amend, which like moves it down into the previous commit. I want to move new line from this commit, or from this change, into this change up here. So it's something that like in Git, like this is another reasonable thing you might want to do. Maybe I fixed some bug here, and then started working on a new feature, but actually I started working on the new feature before I made this new commit, and I didn't realize that, and I just need to move that line up to the other change, because it's unrelated to the bug fix, and it's related to the feature instead. But like, that's really annoying to do in Git. Let's do that in JJ. We can squash to move things between changes. I can say from M to L, and then -I for interactive. Now, this is, maybe will blow your mind. Here's the diff editor for JJ. It's just a TUI. You don't have to go and like, you know, when it adds those like 7 less than signs in your file, and you have to go find that and move it around and then run like git rebase -- continue. No, this just gives you a menu. Which line do I want to move? This one. Gonna hit space, hit C, done. Now I have a conflict. I wasn't actually expecting that to happen, because I didn't want to show off conflicts yet, but yeah, whatever, we can handle this. So coming from Git, how would we, or let's JJ log. So, do we have a conflict in this one now? What? Okay, I'm just gonna undo that. Let's pick a different change to move, because I don't want to show off conflicts yet. Git file. Second. Okay, let's do this. So, okay, I'll show off a bunch of other features. If I want to go back and add something to M, because I realized I missed something, I can just JJ edit M, and now you'll see this @ sign means this is the change that we have checked out currently. So I can now just go edit this. Let's create a new file in new file, and then if I run JJ log, it'll print the log, but right above the log, anyone want to guess what it'll print?
Rebase?
Yeah, automatically rebase to descendant commits. Because I made a change to a previous one, it's not going to say, oh, you can't change a previous commit because you have ones after this. It's just going to make it happen. So it'll just rebase the descendant ones. And now if I log -p, we can say, okay, we now have new file and our original file in this first change. Then we have our between change, and we have our second one up here. So now, doesn't matter which commit I have checked out for this. I want to move new file from M into L. So squash from M to L, and I can either do this interactive, or if I'm moving a whole file, I can just say move new file, so I can give it a path just like that. But let's do interactive again. You'll see we can expand these files, and I'm just using HJKL here. You can use arrow keys as well. There's also I think if you hit question mark, yeah, you get a whole menu of here's all the stuff you can do. So I can just select new file, hit C for continue, and now this time there's no conflict because I didn't, choose a bad example. So let's log -p, and it's exactly what we would expect. New file is now up here in this change. Our original changes are down here. Very convenient. Okay, so let's say now let's make a new change we'll make a new change up at the top. So I'm here, right? I have a new empty change. I can go fix a new bug or build a new feature, whatever I'm doing with my code. So let's say I do that. Right, I fix this bug. And now, actually, I want to combine this into the previous one. With Git, how would you do that?
Git commit amend.
Yeah, so there's git commit amend, which will take your staged changes and put those into your last commit. JJ has JJ squash, which we already saw for moving something from one commit to another, or one change to another. That's what we want to do here. The most common way you'll do that is moving something from your current change into the previous one, so that's why it's called squash. You're going to like squash these two changes together. So if I just run that with no options, it's going to do the default of squash from my current commit into the parent. And now if I log -p, we'll see second change has our bug fix here, and our current commit is empty, or current change is empty. So, yeah, it makes it way easier to just move things around. So I mentioned it doesn't have a way to stage files, but I said we can still use that workflow. If we want to do something where I edit, no, that's not gonna work. Or F in A, B, C, D. Okay, I just made a bunch of new files. If I JJ status, which I have a short alias for, you'll see we have a bunch of new files. Okay? Now, let's pretend I really like the staging pattern, and I want to stage A and B and commit those, and I want to leave the rest out. The way you do that in JJ is you can just split the current change into two changes, or you can split it into more than two changes as well, if you'd like to. So I can just say JJ split, and I can give it the files that I want to split out. So this is just like git add and the files. Or again, I can give it the interactive. It gives me this nice menu. I can then pick the whole files. I can go into the file and pick specific lines that I want to split out. So I'm going to pick A and B and hit continue. And now I can add descriptions. So I'll say this is our commit that we've made. Or yeah, this has my staged changes. And now we'll see we have a commit here that says this has my staged changes. And if I show this commit, we have just A and B, right? So it's not git add, but you can use the exact same workflow in JJ, where you just have always at the, oh, by the way, if you run JJ with nothing else, it'll automatically log. Or you might have to set this in your settings. But the default, at least,
That is default. It is default.
yeah, it just prints a hint. It'll give you the set the UI default command hint, but it'll log by default. So you just run JJ, you get this log. Basically, if you like the staging workflow, you just keep an empty, no description change always at the top. You make all your edits to your files there, and then you squash or you split them into a commit whenever you're done. So that's just like the standard Git workflow. Or you can do it differently, where you just make the changes you want directly into this commit, and then you JJ new to create a new commit once you're done with this one. So totally up to you. Either one works, just different preferences. There are some other interesting things you can do. What should we show next?
How do you go with that?
You can edit change to go to that change, or to check it out. So you can also, yeah, so I showed JJ new creates a new change. If you add -h, you'll see there are a couple options here. You can specify a rev set, which is a revision set. This is a change ID, a bookmark, which we'll talk about, or several other things. A bookmark is kind of like a branch name in Git. It can be a change ID, it can be a commit hash, it can be several change IDs, it can be functions that operate on change IDs. So you can say like JJ new not this commit, not this change, and it will then take like the set operation of all of the changes except for this one. Actually, this is probably going to be really annoying if I do it, because it's going to create like 10 new commits, or like 5 new commits. Okay. So I'm wrong. It's not going to create 4 new commits, 4 new changes, each with 1 parent. It's going to try to create 1 new change with 4 parents, which is a merge, right? A merge in Git, you usually create them with git merge, but it's really just a commit with 2 parents. That's the only special thing about a merge. JJ has no merge command. You just say JJ new. Let's actually do this. Let's make a new commit after L. So we now have K and X are next to each other. I don't want this change, so I can JJ abandon MV. Oops. MV is an alias in my shell. That's why that was weird. JJ. Okay, so now we have X and K next to each other. Let's show K just to remember what I did. I made A and B. Okay. Let's make C. Echo something into C. There we go. So I now have some changes in X. We'd say create C. And I have some changes in K. If I want to merge these, I just say new, give it X and K as parents. It's going to make a new merge commit right here with both X and K as parents. Now, this new commit is KW. The previous commit was K. So now there's 2 commits, or 2 changes that start with K, so you'll see it highlights KW and KU. It always highlights the unambiguous portion of the change ID. So anyways, that's merging. Nowadays you merge with like pull requests most of the time, so you probably don't even need this. You can just rebase. Which maybe this is a good time to talk about rebasing. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make a new commit off of L. Can I give it a message here? I don't actually know the answer to this. This will be rebased. Oh yeah, I can. Okay, so we now have... Wait, what? Where did my merge go?
Oh, because it was empty?
KW.
I'm sorry.
It should have stayed there. Yeah, it might have been because it's empty. I think that's right. Oh, it's because it's empty and has no description. That's why. If it's empty and has no description, it assumes that you don't care about it, and it'll just remove it. Okay, new XK merge. There we go. Now we have our merge, and we have this commit that will be rebased coming off of this parent. So let's move ZM on top of S. Everyone, is that clear enough what I'm trying to do? I want S to become the parent of ZM. So, how would I do this with Git? Nobody? Wow, okay. Git rebase onto S. Oh no. This is where it gets weird. You can't tell it the commit you want to start rebasing from. You have to check it out. It's really weird. I don't know why that is. But we would have to, like, let's pretend this is Git. I'm going to check out ZM, right? Now that I have it checked out, I can git rebase onto S, the parent of the last commit that I want to move. Is this intuitive to anyone? Yeah, correct. So I want to move ZM, so I'm going to give it ZM's parent, L. And I'm telling it, okay, it's called rebase. So you give it the previous base. This is where the intuition comes from. You're telling it, I want to rebase. I want S to be the new base of whatever L is the current base of. L is the base of ZM, so I want S to now be the base of ZM. But this is unintuitive. Who would think of this? Nobody here. And you guys, I assume, are pretty smart. So, it's a dumb command. Alright. JJ rebase.
There are multiple things which are based on that.
What?
What if there are multiple things which are based on that and you only want to rebase one?
Multiple things as in like,
Like let's imagine there's like 2 branches off of that.
oh, because it's only referring to the one that you have checked out.
Okay.
That's an implicit part of the get rebase command is whatever I currently have checked out, which is also dumb. Because maybe you have like, you want to move something onto yourself. You can't just say, yeah, grab that and put it on me. You have to say, no, okay, I'll check that out. I'll move it to where I was, and now I'll check out where I was. Which is
What
dumb.
if you want to move something else onto you, you can just put it.
You can merge it if it's a fast forward only. You can cherry pick it if it's one commit, or you have to do the weird rebase way. Again, 3 different ways to solve the same problem. It's very weird. All of those are accomplishable with JJ rebase. Actually, I lied. Cherry pick is different because cherry pick will not move the commit. It will create a new copy of the commit. So ignore that one. But the merge will also fast forward without merging, which is unintuitive. Yeah, when really that's a rebase. So anyways, JJ rebase. It's slightly more intuitive in that you tell it onto, okay, my ligatures are messing up this a little, but onto the destination, or instead of that, you can insert after or insert before. So if you want to take like these 2 changes and move them in between these 2 changes, you can do that with after and before. That's what those are for. If you just want to move it on top of something and not in between, that's what onto is for. So yeah, here we have source and onto, which is, I think, fairly intuitive. So let's do this rebase now. We can JJ rebase. Source is ZM. Onto is S. And there we go. It's exactly what you would expect to happen. We moved ZM onto S. Yeah, you can also, the only thing I would say is not entirely intuitive is there's source and revisions, which if you look, the messages or the help description is very similar for both. But it does specify that source is together with the descendants, and revisions is, okay, this is a bad description. So this is unintuitive still, but this does not rebase descendants. You'll see it says rebases descendants onto this revision's parents, which means it's going to take this revision out, put the descendants on the parent, and then put this revision wherever you want it. Which means if I want to take N and pull it out and put it somewhere else, I can JJ rebase -R, so it's going to pull N and not its descendants, and then I can say onto, let's do ZM, why not? And there we go, we now have N on top of ZM. How would we do that in Git? You'd probably have to rebase interactive and then edit the history in the file. But also, can't do that because there's a merge commit here and you can't rebase over those. So, sucks. That's a slight lie. You can, but it's very painful and you shouldn't. Actually, let's do exactly that. Okay, let's pull out N. So, git checkout, this, git rebase I, root. Okay, oh yeah, so do you see a merge in there? No, it got rid of it. Why? Because it assumes that you just want to get rid of merges whenever you rebase. I don't know why that is. If we delete everything in there, we can cancel the rebase. So, there's like, I swear there's an option for this. Did it keep base? No. It's not keep base. There we go. Rebase merges. So for some reason you have to manually say I want to rebase merges. Oh wait, let me go back to that. Yeah, rebase will simply drop merge commits from the to-do list. Why? I don't know, but it does. Yeah, and then there's this whole thing about cousins. I don't know, but let's git rebase I R root And now, this is what it looks like when you rebase with a merge. Anyone know what's going on here? I don't either. I just use JJ when I need to do this. So, yeah, it like, label, these are actually like go-tos in C. That's what the label and reset are. So, yeah, I don't quite know what this is doing. But if you ever wanted to try this, now you know you don't. Okay, so let's go back to JJ, and you'll see I made some changes in Git. I didn't make the same changes in JJ. It just says, great, reset the working copy parent to the new Git head. So it just imports the changes gracefully from Git, even though they were out of sync. Yeah.
No, sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Cool. So that's a lot of moving commits around. What about, let's do conflicts, because I did mention that earlier. This will be, okay. Actually, let's do the op log first. So, do you guys know about git reflog? No? Okay, well, Mukul did. He asked about it, but he walked away. So, git reflog is kind of cool. It is a log of every commit that you have checked out. So it's kind of like a JJ change in that way, where if you have a commit checked out and then you like switch to a different branch, the log will show all the changes that head has made. I didn't do a great job explaining that. I'm confused. But like, head is a pointer to the currently checked out commit. We know that, right? Everyone is familiar with that, I assume. So if you check out one commit, A, and then you check out B, and then you check out C, head will change from A to B to C, so your ref log will show CBA. Right? That's not necessarily the history in your repository, but it's the history of all the commits that you had checked out. So that's what a git ref log is. It looks like this. There's head at 0, which is current head, head at 1, which is one head ago, and it goes back like this. Yeah, you'll see it'll label them if you do like a checkout moving from one commit to another. It's maybe helpful in that way. There's cherry pick, there's a commit here. JJ does this better. JJ has an op log, which is operation log, and it stores every single thing you do in your JJ repository. Not only which commit is checked out, but creating new commits, deleting them, rebasing them, moving them around, making changes to changes, and making changes to files that get included. So it also just shows you the exact commands you ran and the times that you did each of these. So if I want to go back to like before I started doing all the rebase nonsense, I can just say, okay, here's my first rebase command. Here's the change right before it. I'll copy, actually this is, sorry, not a change, this is an operation ID. I'll copy this, and then I can just say JJ op restore that, and it will just reset the repository to the exact state it was in at that point. Doesn't matter what I've done after that. I don't really know how they did this, but it's really cool. Also, no matter what you do, JJ undo is basically like restore to the previous thing in the operation log. So if I do some rebase that I don't like, I can just JJ undo, and it will undo it. I'm pretty sure that even works with like git fetch. Obviously it doesn't work with git push, because like, that's not how that works. But any changes to your local repository, JJ undo should be able to undo. Okay. So yeah, let's just undo. And we can just keep undoing, I think. I don't really know. Yeah, you'll see now we have a whole bunch of restores, because it's never actually going to go back in this history. It's just going to do like what a git revert would do, and just say, okay, restore's there. But oh, here's a funny thing. We can restore to before I did all the undos. Yeah, that's nice and intuitive. We are right here, even though we're up there. But whatever. Yeah.
If you do a git, if you keep doing git undos, it just keeps ping pong between the last two, right?
Can you say that a little louder?
If you keep like chaining git undos, it just keeps ping pong. Sorry, not git undos, JJ undos. It keeps ping pong between the last two, right?
Previously, yes, but not anymore. They made it so it actually just
does repeatedly undo previous operations. I believe. This is what I read this from the changelog.
So you can't
Just before
undo
you-
an undo.
You...
Or read it, I guess. Like,
I think you can, but you just have to do JJ Opera Store, like the full explicit thing. I'm not entirely sure. Previously, I updated like 2 days ago to the latest version. Before I did that, yeah, if you did undo multiple times, it would just flip-flop between the two changes. Like if you were on change A, and then you're on change B, and then you undo, you'll go back to change A, and then if you undo, you'll go back to change B, because you'll undo the undo. And like it'll flip-flop between the two. But I think now if you do repeated undos, it will actually go back that number of changes.
then in that case, it'll show as an @ symbol in the op block.
Did they change undo behavior?
Let's see, actually. So, okay. First undo here was restore to operation 6218, which is this one here, right? And then I did a second undo, which is restore to E38, which is the previous one.
Oh, they fixed
Yeah.
undo.
Yeah, so you can do multiple undos, and it will just see, okay, if the last command was an undo, let me go to the change before that. Makes sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, repeated undos work as if you hit Command Z, Control Z, whatever multiple times. Okay, so what does it look like now? It looks like this. Okay. I guess I should talk about rev sets maybe a little more than I did. I'll just pull up the docs for this one. If you go to the docs and you go to reference rev set language, there is a whole specified language for specifying sets of revisions. Some of these are inspired by Git, so you may be used to like ... which x ... says everything that is not an ancestor of ... right? Everything that's not reachable going back in time from x. Sorry, I said from ... it says it correctly there, so you can. There's very similar : which is descendants of x. So if you have like some commit x, a bunch of commits off of that, unrelated branch y, some commits off of that, x ... will include y because it's unrelated, which means it's not reachable from x. X : will only include descendants of x. Does that make sense? So like usually what you want is descendants. It's not that sensical to say give me everything except what's reachable from x. Sometimes it is, but usually you just want descendants. So that's why they introduce a specific way of doing that with : In Git, you can't do that. You have to say x ... head. And head just has to be the latest descendant. If it's not, then you have to move it around manually. You put it on the left side, it's ancestors. Pretty much same thing. Similar here. This is same as Git. Then there's also : which is like same thing but makes more sense. Descendants of x that are also ancestors of y. So it's literally everything in between the two. Whereas this one is everything that's an ancestor of x that's not, sorry, everything ancestor of y that's not also ancestor of x. Which is very similar, but not always the same. Oh, yeah. There's I don't want to cover that edge case, but there is one where that goes.
Wait, what is?
It's if you do really weird stuff with orphan commits. Just don't do it. Actually, orphan commits are great, but in JJ they're not a thing because everything has the Z chain as root commit. So yeah, there's set not, like I said, there's intersection, difference, union, just like you would expect with set operations. And then there's a bunch of functions like parents, children, ancestors, descendants. So some of these are exactly the same as some of the syntax sugar up here. This is parents, children, descendants, ancestors. If you can't remember those, you have the full function names, which is convenient. First parent, first ancestor, those are good for merges. All, none. And then there's some more interesting ones, like bookmarks. Remote bookmarks. Oh, I guess I should talk about bookmarks as well. Okay, 10 minutes. That'll take a little rush. Tags, remote tags. Here are some of the more interesting ones. visible heads. This, I don't want to guess what this is.
It looks like I see they're texting
Tip of all branches.
Yeah, it's the tips of all of the branches, which doesn't sound like it would be that useful, but it actually is, because if you let me just make some new changes here. Okay, this looks awful. Shit. Okay, here's some history, right? The default rev set that gets logged is ancestors of visible heads. Because it's really useful. It basically is like, since your changes are kind of like branches, if you have a change, and it is the tip of some history, it's basically like a branch. And so if you want to just see where all your branches are, you can just JJ log and it will log all of those. That's why visible heads is useful. There's also other stuff that makes it useful. Like if you do JJ get push, if I can spell it, there we go. The default rev set is like remote bookmarks, ... or maybe it's colon, visible heads, and bookmarks. So this is like, what does this mean? But it basically means, oh no, it's something else. It's like the currently checked out head here. But basically it says, push all of the bookmarks that are but in between the remote version of that bookmark and my current branch. So if I have origin master here, master on top of that, and then a new commit on top of that, and if I just JJ get push, it's going to push master. It'll move origin master up to the master. But it won't push an unrelated branch that's over there. So yeah, there's like a bunch of these rev set things that may not be immediately obvious why they're useful, but you can combine them into fairly useful things. Let's user. Okay. Here's an example. This command is tug, which I guess this won't actually make sense until I talk about bookmarks. So let me do that first. Real quick, bookmarks are like branches, except they're actually more like tags because they don't move around automatically. In JJ, you have changes that move automatically, so you don't really need branches. The only use for bookmarks is to collaborate with Git repositories that use branches. So to show this, I will just go to some Git repository. This is on GitHub, and if I list, you'll see this pink label here. This is a bookmark. So this is main. This is a feature branch. If I do a new commit on top of main, you'll see main does not move onto my new commit. Here's my new one. Main is still down here. If I want to move it, I can say JJ bookmark move main onto the currently checked out change. Or I can run JJ tug, which if I go back and look at this, here, okay. We're going to bookmark move from whatever the hell this means. At is the currently checked out commit, hyphen is the parent. This is all ancestors, all
Can you get the thing in there, please? The phone.
not ancestors, but other commits in X. Yeah.
From within the set.
That doesn't make sense. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, right?
Yeah, the entire point of tag is that if I have like a long branch, I can pull from
Yeah, exactly.
But it's within the body of the function.
Yeah.
So you're only looking at the bookmarks. So let's imagine you have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bookmark and then
I
a
understand.
tag before.
It's
You
the
don't
last
open the
one.
tag, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have like two bookmarks,
Yeah.
you only pick like the tip.
Okay. So, yes, thank you for basically, this is saying, okay, grab all the bookmarks that are in the current set of ancestors that are an ancestor of my current change. And then head says, take the last one of these, the most recent one, and we're going to move it to the current change. So this basic bookmark move, combined with rev sets, lets you make fairly customized commands without actually needing customized like scripting or commands. This just says, move the latest bookmark in the ancestors of this commit to this commit. And so if I were to run that, let's just print the history again so we can see. If I run JJTug here, it's going to go through the history, it's going to find main as that last bookmark, and then it's going to move it on to P. And there we go, main is now here. Star means that it does not match the remote version, so I have to JJ get push. Okay, and then I can just undo, and it undoes that. I don't really have to worry about what it is I did, which is nice. So those are bookmarks, those are rev sets. Let's do conflicts real quick, because this is an interesting one. I know I'm going over the hour, so, well, you're not obligated to stay anyways, but you're still here, so great. Yeah.
Real quick question. You said something about bookmarks mixing like gets branches and tags in Jujutsu. Does that mean like tags, like when you want to assign a new tag to commit or whatnot, is there like a different syntax or?
Good question. So I don't know the answer currently. On the version of JJ that I was using up until I upgraded earlier this week, there was actually no support for tags. You just use git tag if you need to do that. Because there's really, like, tags are not useful in JJ. Because you already have bookmarks. So if you need to make a tag in a Git repository, you just do git tag.
So is it like through JJ, like JJ git tag?
No, it's literally git tag.
Oh, just like underlying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they might have added support for tags. I think I saw something about tags in the change log. I'm not sure. There may be ways to do it. But yeah, if you have bookmarks and then you like git push, the bookmarks turn into branches in your remote Git repository. Or if you git pull a branch, it turns into a bookmark. So even though the bookmarks don't move automatically, they translate to git branches. If that makes sense. And then git tags just really don't get used much in JJ. Yeah. If you think about it, it's also because like here changes can change. So like there's not really much of a point tagging a change. Yeah. Because you can just put a bookmark on it, but also that can change. If you tag a specific git commit, then like it might just get lost because your change might change to a different git commit, because that's how changes work. So like the tags really aren't that useful. It's pretty much only useful when you're like releasing something, at which point you're pushing it to a remote repository, and so it doesn't push. Okay, the reason I started with rev sets is because I wanted to do this. Yeah, I'm just going to delete everything that's not reachable from n. There we go. Now n is the last thing. So yeah, way easier than that would be in Git, because rev sets are pretty cool. Also, you can just run jj-h and you get like a bunch of the commands. There are plenty that I'm not covering that are pretty useful, but yeah, I'm covering the most useful ones. I should split. Split's great. Tag. Yeah, so I think there is support for tags now, because there's a tag subcommand. There's also workspace. Okay, this is like Git work tree. If you use those, there's the same thing in JJ. I won't cover that because not that many people use those. Anyways, let's do conflicts. So in this commit, I'm going to edit a file. Just call it conf. I'm going to put a bunch of A's. Actually, let's do this. I'll put a line of, or let's say, setting 1 equals A. Set A. I'll make a new commit. In here, I'm going to add a new line of setting 2 as B. And set And then I'm going to make a new commit off of the parent where I will set setting 2 to C. Okay, I did it really fast, but here's the log. Okay, so I have setting 1 here, I have setting 2 to B, and in a sibling, setting 2 to C. So if I try to merge these, obviously I'm going to get a conflict. Or if I rebase one on top of the other, I'm going to get a conflict. So let's rebase K on top of U, rebase SK onto U, and there we go, we get a conflict. So let's JJ edit K, and let's edit conf, and let's see what the conflict looks like. Unfortunately, very similar to Git, right? We have a bunch of markers, but there's one not immediately obvious thing here. In Git, when you get a conflict marker like this, it shows you the 2 sides. It shows you the changes you made on one side, and the changes you made on the other. JJ is different. It shows you the resulting changes of one side. It shows you the changes you made on one side, and then the diff between the base and the other side. So what's really convenient about that is now you don't have to say, okay, which changes did I make that I need to copy to one side or to the other side or delete from one side or the other side. You just see, okay, I made this change here of adding setting 2 equals C. How do I apply that to this? Right? It's basically telling you, here's the diff you need to apply to this. Whereas Git is telling you, here are the 2 separate changes you made, you figure it out. So this is a very small example. It's hard to see why this is useful. But if you end up with a real conflict, this way is so much more useful. Because all you have to do is figure out, okay, how do I apply this diff to this thing that it doesn't perfectly match? Whereas with Git, you have to figure out the diff, and then you have to figure out how to apply it. But there's another way of doing this. With JJ Resolve, we can resolve conflicts. And it's going to open up this editor, and it's going to let us just pick which line we want. Conflict resolved. No more conflict marker. It's that easy. There's the built-in diff tool. There's a bunch of others. You can see right here, merge editor built-in. It's using the default one. You can set this to whatever you want. Meld, vim diff, a bunch of other tools. And yeah, you can just, if there's a conflict, you run JJ Resolve, great, you edit your thing, you don't have to deal with conflict markers at all, and then you just hit continue and it figures it out. Conflicts are also first-class types, unlike Git. So in Git, when you have a conflict, it puts the conflict markers in your code, and that's where it ends. Git does not really track conflicts beyond that. If you commit the conflict markers, sucks, Git won't tell you. You just now have conflict markers as part of your code, and it assumes that's what you wanted in the first place. JJ tracks conflicts as first-class types. So if you have a conflict, it will synthesize that to a conflict marker in your files that are checked out, but in the repository itself, the conflict is its own metadata on the change, and so it knows that there is a conflict in this commit, regardless of whether there's a conflict marker, which is kind of nice. There's also diff edit, which is very similar to resolve, but just for editing. Diff, you can, so with split and squash, you can do -I. There's also JJ commit, which is just a combination of JJ describe and then JJ new. That's basically all it does. If I have this, I have this commit with no description. I make a file. I can then JJ commit. Well, you'll see this has changed VQ. I've now given VQ a message and created a new commit on top. So basically the same workflow as git commit. They just have a shorthand command for that. Anyways, commit, squash, split, restore. Restore is just like git restore. You can use it to undo changes, undo parts of your change. You can, actually I'll show you. But anyways, all of these, take -I, gives you that interactive TUI. You can select which changes you want to operate on. It's great. Restore is also very useful because just like squashing or rebasing, you can just tell it which commit you want to restore from. So let's actually restore. Oh, this commit has no changes. It's empty. So let's log. Let's say I have conf here. Okay, so let's make another change to conf, right? Actually, no, it's not. In VO, I create conf with just setting 1, and then after that, I set setting 2. If I want to restore conf to how it was here in VO, it's very easy. I can JJ restore from VO conf. That's it. It'll just reset it to how it was in that file. You don't have to worry about git reset, soft, hard, mixed, whatever. There's like git reset, git restore, git checkout. All of those do the same thing. Here, there's one way to do it, and it's intuitive. Okay, question?
If there are multiple like commits that change conf, will it just restore, like get rid of everything in between and go back to VO's F conf?
Yes, it will not change any of the history. This is basically give me the contents of conf as it was in VO. That's what this means. Restore conf's state from VO.
So it'll also like get rid of like new lines, change lines from all the commits in between.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll just go back to VO, say what is in conf at this point, and then copy that into conf in your current change. It will not change any of the history. So yeah, by default, there's also into. Yeah, you can use this. You can say restore from here into here if you want to change like not in the current commit, but that's kind of weird. I don't really see what the use case is for that. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything super useful. What? Yes, that is true. Instead of force, JJ tends to use very explicit force alternatives. So if you want to move a bookmark backwards, let's do that. Let's bookmark create on revision VQ, and let's call it VM. Why not? I now have a bookmark here. If I want to move VM onto U, it says, no, I will not move it backwards. Instead of force, you explicitly say allow backwards. Which is much more explicit about what you're allowed and why you have to force. There's other things, I can't think of the other similar yeah, there's other stuff that you're probably used to, like bisect, which if you're not used to it, you should learn what it is because it's really cool. There's also evolog, which is kind of like git reflog for a change, because a change can change between many commits as you modify it. So evolog shows you the reflog of that change. I've never used it, but it's not all that useful. Fix is interesting. Has anyone used, what's it called? Git filter repo? Yeah. So for those who have it, it's basically if you need to like run a command or do some change on every commit in the history of a repository, you can use git filter repo for that. So say you committed your driver's license to the door opener repository under new hackers, and you need to remove that. Yes, this did happen. You can use git filter repo because you can't just make a new. You can't just revert that. You could rebase and drop that commit out of there, but like it still exists in the repository. It's just not pointed to by the branch anymore. So you have to like actually remove that change. Git filter repo lets you go through all the previous changes or previous commits and like remove a certain file from everything. Git fix or JJ fix is very similar. It's not really meant to do that, although it can do that, I think. But it's more meant for like if I want to run a formatter like Prettier on every commit, but because you may not want to run it just on the whole repo and make that a new commit, because then you have a commit that changes like every file there, but it's also not related to anything.
And so if you ever like git blame something, it's just going to say, oh yeah, it was this one that formatted the whole repository, which is useless. So JJ fix is really nice because you can say JJ fix prettier, whatever options you need to give it, I don't know. And then it'll run prettier on every individual change and save that as part of that change, which is good. Because then all the formatting is done with the changes. Yeah, there's redo. So if you undo and you want to redo the undo, that's what you do instead. Undo, multiple undos will just go back like we discussed.
I wonder how this is.
It's just an op restore. Because undo just makes a new op, so you can just restore it before that op.
No, but I mean like, are all the operations like in this like basically built on Git? Are they just like a sequence of Git operations, or is there something else going on?
Yeah, mostly.
So does it just do they just maintain like a stack of like how you do something and then reverse it, and then it's like if you redo, just,
Yeah,
they already know what to do.
I mean, there's already the op log, right? So like you can already restore it
Oh.
at this point here.
Oh.
So JJ redo is just like if you undo one of these, it's gonna make a new operation, which says undo. Here, let's do that. I moved.
Yeah.
I created this bookmark, right?
Yeah.
JJ undo. No more bookmark here.
Yeah.
It would show up right here. JJ op log. You'll see we have the bookmark create, and then we have the undo. So all the redo is going to do is just check this.
Does this log of operations branch? I assume
No.
Okay.
Because like redo or undo, if we were to branch, undo would just move us back to here. Instead, it's more like a revert where it makes a new operation that has the same state as this one.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so it never branches.
Does it merge the old state? Does it merge the old state with the original?
Yeah, it goes back to the previous state. It doesn't merge it. It like if you undo and then you redo, the redo undoes the undo. It just can't stop it. Yeah, so the rest of these is not terribly useful, but like that's mainly how you use JJ. I didn't really cover the remote stuff. It's not too hard to figure out. So if you're working with a remote repository, just like you did JJ git init, you do JJ git clone, and it clones a remote repository. Or if you want to, if you have a local one and you want to add a remote, you say JJ git remote, add origin, GitHub, whatever, or that's my alias, but you know, GitHub, whatever. JJ git push, JJ. The only thing is there's no git pull. You do JJ git fetch, and then you use JJ operations to basically do the pull, because there's no fast forward. Like in Git, you do git merge and it would fast forward. In JJ, we don't do that. You just check out the commit or the change that you want to edit, or you rebase onto it. So you just do JJ git fetch. You see the new main branch, whatever. If you have change, you rebase it on there. If you just want to make a new change off there, you just JJ new main. It makes a new change. So pretty easy. Yeah, that's all the useful stuff I could like to share. But if anyone has questions, go ahead.
This might be a bit of a silly question. Like, would you say that JJ is a drop-in replacement for Git, like as it is right now for your workflow? And if so, like, if say we have like a Git repository that we want to convert to, or like use JJ on top of, right? What would you say are the most common pitfalls that we should look out for, and like if it would be transparent to other users, like Git users of that same repository?
It is, for me, a drop-in replacement. I use it exclusively instead of Git, except on machines where it's not installed and I can't be bothered to install it. Of those, there is one that I can think of. So, yeah, I use it anytime I need to do it with Git. The one place it doesn't replace Git well, it doesn't replace Git if you're doing the server side of things, but like, that's
Oh yeah, like as a
kind of
developer
obvious.
only. Yeah.
Like if you're the one hosting the Git repositories, obviously you're just going to use Git because they're Git repositories. But pitfalls, I can't really think of many. It's a different workflow.
Yeah.
So like, it does take some time to get used to, but it, in my opinion, is very intuitive. Once you learn how to do something, it just makes sense. So like, yeah, you'll probably have to look up the commands for a day or two, but then once you learn how to do it, it's not like Git, where you know you've done it 100 times and you still need to look up the command because it just is unintuitive. It's like, oh yeah, I just rebase whatever. Like, it all makes sense. So yeah, it's a little, like, there's some context switching, but that's it.
Would you say it's transparent to like other, like let's say that you're on a shared like GitHub repository, right? If I go ahead and use Jujutsu for all of the like future Purdue Hackers projects, would you say it's transparent to other Git repository like users?
Yes, I use JJ for all the Purdue Hackers. And not, I wouldn't say nobody knows because I'm here giving this, but if I didn't say I use JJ, you would.
Wait, wouldn't it be making like a ton of commits?
Those are the.
Oh.
So that like I guess it freezes them at some point when you push to remote. Oh, okay, or like
when you push,
yeah.
Only push the commits that matter.
So if you say you do like the in between, like JJ new to make a new commit, that would obviously change the commit IDs of all the descendants, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, if your main branch or master branch is at the tip, then you would have to do a force push.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay, one thing actually I did not mention that only comes into play when you're working with remote repositories is if there is a remote tracking bookmark, JJ will not let you change changes that are descendants of the remote tracking bookmark.
Oh, that's smart.
What?
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah. So that's exactly what you want, right? Like your changes, basically, you should be free to change whatever you want and move commits around until you push them and share them with other people. And at that point, because of Git's policy of commits must be immutable, you should not be moving those around anymore. So that's how JJ enforces that. If you have, like, if I go to here, if I say new commit before main, it will say this commit is immutable, not going to let me do that, and I have to say ignore immutable if I want to do that. So again, instead of force, this is the other one I was trying to think of earlier that I couldn't think of. You say explicitly what you want it to do. And I just want to do that. So, yeah, that is like one, but that's not even a thing to watch out for because like you shouldn't do that anyways, So, there is one funky thing where if you don't want to deal with bookmarks, you can, so I have this change WX. I can JJ git push change WX. It's going to make a branch named with the change ID of this change, and it's just going to call it push hyphen this change ID. This is the only thing that I would say is externally visible to other people working on your Git repository. If you do this pattern. If you just make your bookmark and name it something yourself, then this won't happen. Right? It's not noticeable. But like, this is the only thing that might be noticeable by other people, and could be kind of annoying, because then if I make a pull request based on this, the branch is just called push whatever, which is not a descriptive name. Now, if you're using what is, in my opinion, the correct way to merge pull requests, which is that squash it? Okay. Never mind. I picked the wrong repository for that one, but
I think I disabled the merge one.
Disable what?
I think I disable merge, so it's either rebase or squash.
That's cursed.
I mean, it keeps like a linear commit history, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, rebase is fine. Squash is.
Like if you have a lot of WIPs and you just want
People who don't know how to make their commits.
Or if you have like a very big problem.
Yeah.
Then squash is.
no, or like if you have like a branch that you just want to like do a bunch of tests on, right? So you just
like-
make a lot of commits,
Yeah.
and then later it's just one feature commit that you want to make, so you just squash it into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
then you make
have like an expanded description.
You know what you can do? That. Or actually, I guess you do, yeah, A dot B into A, boom, squashes all this. So, when you get up there, you get, obviously that's really annoying too. So, I understand why it's mean. But yeah, anyway, what I was going to say is, you should, when you merge a pull request, you should make the title of the pull request the title of the commit. You shouldn't make the title of the commit merge pull request number from branch, because that's like not that helpful. Especially if you name the branches like this. But yeah, that's the only thing that I think could get in the way of it. Everything else, not noticeable at all. When you push changes, you're only pushing the ancestors of the branch or tag that you're pushing, even with regular Git. So all of these extra commits that get created are not getting pushed. JJ will automatically garbage collect some of them anyways, so it's not like you're not going to pollute your local repositories.
Since it uses Git internally, does it also respect all of the Git templates? So, like for signing and stuff, if you have key names in your Git config, you use JJ.
I usually have to look at
Is that
spice and excitement to my work.
I don't know about signing. I think JJ has a feature where you can say sign on push only, which is good because GPG signing is slow. It takes noticeable time for it to sign a commit when I make it. So it's convenient to say sign on push only because then you don't have to waste the time signing everything and the space to sign everything. But it'll still sign it when you push it because that's what it matters.
Wait, JJ can do that?
Yes, I believe that is a feature
That's
that I've
so cool.
enabled. It has something that signs at sensible time.